The Seattle Seahawks were the juggernaut a couple years ago, and now they're a good team. And that's not bad, but they were projected as the next dynasty. And I look at a lot of their players on that roster, and they want that dynasty badly. And so they need to make moves on offense as well as defense. Now, don't get me wrong with that defense. That's still a top 5, top 10 defense right there that can easily be the number 1 rank next year. But at the same time, though, they're still going to have to make moves. Now, when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, what happened to them this year? They had to play a lot more man coverage. Obviously, Richard Sherman was still able to play a lot of man coverage, and he did well, and I think he shut up a lot of his haters there. And none of his haters paid attention to that, of course. So I still look at Richard Sherman as probably the best cornerback in the league. And he played in man coverage well. But at the same time, though, they like playing cover 3 a lot. Now, obviously, Earl Thomas getting injured hurt them a lot. And it definitely did. So they could add depth at safety. I know Adrian Amos is available for a trade for the Chicago Bears. And I look at Cam Chancellor. Cam Chancellor's a playmaker, but he isn't a coverage guy. And I look at Teron Harmon. Teron Harmon is a guy that constantly gets subbed in and out of games. So you can look at him, and you could possibly put that guy in certain situations as a backup to Cam Chancellor. So that looks like an option. Now, the partial reason why they played more man coverage this year is because they lost a lot of pass rushing depth. Now, I look at Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill. I still look at them as a good duo. Now, obviously, Michael Bennett had some injuries, but they did have Bruce Irvin. Bruce Irvin hovered around 10 sacks. That's a lot of sacks right there. And they only ranked 34th in 20. They only had 34 sacks in 2015, and they ranked 17th. And if you lose like a 10-sack leader, you're going to move down if you replace them with just like a cheap 4th-round pick. If that 4th-round pick gets like 4 sacks, you're only hovering around 28 sacks a year. And that's bad for a cover 3 defense. So when I look at them, I think that they really need to focus on the pass rush in the front 7. Obviously, Meanbane was a huge factor right there. Obviously, you got to have D-tackle play there. And also, their linebackers, a replacement for Bruce Irvin would be nice. Now, when I look at Richard Sherman is very good, but a second corner would also be nice. Now, Byron Maxwell and Brandon Bowner aren't always weren't the greatest of players, but they were good number 2s. And I look at Logan Ryan as a potential option. Now, they try to get a Logan Ryan type of player in Kerry Williams, but obviously Kerry Williams did not work out. And the reason why they want that type of cornerback is because they want someone to cover like the Julian Edelmans of the world, the Golden Tates of the world. That's what they want to do because obviously in Super Bowl 49, they couldn't really cover those guys too well, especially at the end of the game. So those are kind of some things where I look at, and they could possibly go for Logan Ryan. And Logan Ryan does have some meat to him. And also, let's just say you don't even get a pass rusher this year. He can play without a pass rush. He can still make plays here and there. Obviously, I think at one point he was the Patriots leader in like interceptions in 2015, so he could be a good option right there. So there's a couple of Patriots players that the Seattle Seahawks could get. Now, when it comes to the offensive side of the ball, I look at running back. Le'Veon Bell wants to become a Seahawk. I kid you not, he does. And obviously, that shouldn't be much of a surprise. I think most people want to be a Seattle Seahawk. And I also look at him. You remember the rap song he made against Skip Bayless, and I remember he complimented Richard Sherman that song, kind of calling them out that I'm willing to become a Seattle Seahawk. And it's a perfect fit of him. Obviously, it's a pro player organization, just like the Steelers, and also he gets to be on a very good football team right there. So that's definitely something that he could be a part of, and he would fit very well into their system. Now, when it comes to receivers, Alshon Jeffrey's on the market. I think Alshon Jeffrey with Russell Wilson would have tremendous chemistry right there, just some natural chemistry. But obviously, they got a lot of depth at receiver, and they got a nice group of guys. I mean, I look at Baldwin, he's a good wide receiver. Curse is a decent number 2. I know they like Lockett as a receiver, but I think I prefer him more as a return man. And I know Paul Richardson, he's a speedster. He can make some plays here and there, but I definitely think that they should go for Alshon Jeffrey. Now, obviously, Alshon Jeffrey might have a high price tag to him, so that might be a big issue right there. So they can go to the more cost-effective option, Josh Gordon. Now, I know Josh Gordon has a big weed problem right there, but he would have great chemistry with Russell Wilson. So that's definitely a possibility right there. And he's also not too pricey. So you could possibly get Le'Veon Bell and then Josh Gordon right there. So that could be something right there. Now, when I look at their draft, I think that they should draft a quarterback. but in the low rounds, like the mid rounds. Not saying that they need a guy to replace Russell Wilson, but just a guy that can fill in the Russell Wilson and can possibly make a play. Just a big quarterback, maybe like a 6'5" guy who can move a little bit and has a gun. I think that could be very interesting right there because I looked at them last year. Russell Wilson, halfway through the season, only had 5 touchdown passes. So I definitely think that if they gave him some rest where he might have been injured, he could have been, could not been. I don't exactly know for sure. But if you put in that quarterback right there, he could have gave Russell Wilson a couple more days and maybe you'd be better off during the season. Now, when it comes to Thomas Rawls, I think Thomas Rawls is a very good player right there. And obviously, Seattle has great running back coaching. I think ever since Sean Alexander, their running backs they've always had that position set. They always found a guy right there. So that's always good. And I look at Marcel Reese as a guy that they should re-sign right there. I also look at um, LeGarrette Blount as a potential option, depending how good the run blocking is, that he could be a good substitution in. And I think he would like it to be in Seattle and whatnot. And obviously, I think they could look for a receiving back if they don't get Le'Veon Bell, so that could be a more cost-effective option. Now, when it comes to their O-line isn't the greatest. I still look at center as still an iffy position, and there's definitely some offensive linemen in this draft that they could get in here. So there's no specific names I can really name for the Seattle Seahawks. I will later on, but I look at the Seattle Seahawks. If they want to be back to be considered the next dynasty of the NFL or the dynasty of this decade, they're going to have to make moves on the offense and defensive side of the ball.